Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Develop. I'm Chris Woolley, your host for tonight, and this is going to be a super cool episode. I'm pumped for it. We've got quite a bit going on, but just to make sure you're in the right spot, we're looking at headshots, a process-driven approach with Mike Price. So he's going to be sharing some amazing information with us today. If this is your first time watching, welcome. We do a new episode every 2 weeks, and basically we just find some of the top photographers across the nation, and they share information in a 1-hour webinar format, complete with questions and answers, so that you can actually dive in and interact a little bit and learn about what's going on. I do want to give a shout out to American Color Imaging for helping put on this program and helping us to reach out to everybody and bring education to the photography community. If you missed the last episode that we have, Tips and Tricks for Photographers, this was done at Imaging USA in DC. The ACI mentor team all came in and shared some of their favorite tips and tricks. It is way worth checking out. And if you go to ACI's website, acilab.com/let's-develop, you can go there and you can watch the archive of all the previous webinars that we've done. So if you want to know more about marketing, animal photography, landscapes, all that fun stuff, we've done episodes on a ton of things, and we've got a crazy good lineup coming in the future as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring up our guest here, and we have Mike Price that's up here, and he is going to be sharing information with us today on doing headshots. And so for those of you that don't know Mike, he's a super generous guy when it comes to sharing information. He's a photographic craftsman. He's been in the industry, 16 years now? You transitioned into full-time photography, and he's just super smart. If you've ever had a few moments with him, you know that he's crazy generous when it comes to sharing information and helping our industry grow. So I'm very excited to learn from Mike. So we're looking at headshots, a process-driven approach right here. And Mike, you want to start us off?
Fantastic. Chris, thank you so much for having me on today for the show and being able to participate in this. And I also want to take a moment and also thank ACI for sponsoring this. I am an ACI customer, so it is actually nice to be able to work with a program that's actually with one of the big labs that really supports our industry and supports us there. So this has been exciting to get ready for this. It actually gave me a moment, if you will, to kind of reflect on how I even got here into this. Headshots is just my next process, if you will, my next step along the way in the evolution. Chris, if you go ahead and cut to the one photo there, this is what I look like in my first 25 years of my career. I had an undergraduate degree in systems analysis. I'm a computer head and did that for about 25 years in different levels of software development, programming, project management, 4 years of consulting sales. Did a bunch of other stuff there and basically got tired of the corporate America rat race. 16 years ago, I switched over and started doing stuff from a professional standpoint and became a professional photographer. I had shot with my father, Don, out here when growing up. We had a darkroom in our basement, and I shot for our high school newspaper, and I shot for the college newspaper and did the darkroom work. But when it came time for the career, I went into IT and did that until I didn't want to do anymore. So I had my foundation kind of in photography in the beginning, took a time out, skipped the whole film to digital transition, missed that completely. So when I got in, it was digital and ended up doing work and building my business. I started about 16 years ago, and I'm going on to that. So as you see, the stuff I've done along the way here, I've done sports team and individual, event photography, action sports, just all kinds of things. But just because I was really trying to find ways to generate income and make money off my camera, I was spending a lot of times on evenings and weekends. And it got to be a real drag because I wasn't enjoying myself. I didn't have my joy anymore. Enter about 3 years ago, I moved into taking some part-time headshot work and really pivoting into full-time. This is something that I really found my joy. I got a chance to work with my corporate clients, people I could relate to, and the world had come from in the past. It lended itself well to my process for being able to be organized, structured, and being able to have a way to be able to work through things in a consistent manner and really being able to, as I say, find my joy. I have fun with this. I'm having so much fun doing corporate work, talking to people, helping them build their brand, helping them build their image. Whether I'm doing onesie twosies or doing whole big conventions and doing 180 people at a time, that really is my chance to be able to grow into that. So, Chris, I'll have you come on back for just a second on that.
Yep.
There we go.
I did forget to mention, if you do have questions for Mike, please put them into chat. I made a big note that was like, oh, don't forget to say this, and I forgot to say it. Put questions for him into chat. I will be moderating that, and at the very end, we can ask Mike any of the questions that we want. So make sure that we're doing that. Okay, back to you, Mike.
Fantastic. No, so really the big thing for me was driven by finding my joy. So by going into the corporate headshot world, A, I had a lot of fun with it. But B, the thing that I really found with this is that, guess what? Corporate headshot work is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. I got my evenings back. I got my weekends back. And as much as I had fun meeting people, doing sports team and individual every night of the week, shooting some weddings on the weekends, shooting sporting events on the weekends and Friday nights, coming home and having dinner with my wife has a lot of appeal. I really enjoy it. So that corporate really had a draw for me to work into that space. Now, Chris says I only had about 45 minutes for this, and I could spend a week talking about this thing here. So we're going to really just kind of hit the high points and some key elements along the way that I think you could use to expand your headshot business, maybe being able to dive into it and grow that, and maybe be able to find your joy here to complement what you're doing, or jump in full time on that. What's important to understand when I talk about corporate photography is I'm thinking about 3 different areas when I look at corporate photography. And Chris, if you put me back up on the screen there for a second.
I'm on top of it.
We talk about executive portraits. So an executive portrait, I'm focusing on a single individual, typically in their office. It's a little bit of an ego shot because they've got all their paraphernalia on the wall, or they're in their office in their warehouse and they're showing that off there. So I'm really focusing on strong portraiture skills, and I apologize if the images don't come through exactly right. I mean, we are pushing this through Zoom, out to OBS, through webinar software. We might be losing a little color quality along the way, who knows? But so executive portraiture that you've got here, that shows off the executive on that. We hear us talk a lot about branding images. Now, branding images tend to be images that show the individual doing their work. It really is meant to support a marketing effort. So whether it's the cook or a band, we had a composite photo of an entire marketing team that we did. But the people in the pictures are actually supposed to be carrying things elementary of their work. So the chefs have cooking supplies, the salespeople have books and folios. We're trying to show them in more active context. The third area that I focus on then is the traditional headshot. I'll be really clear about how I define a headshot. A headshot is one head. It's from the chest up. It's really trying to emphasize that face and build a relationship and a connection to the individual. We could spend days just drilling into each of these 3. And depending on your skill, your background, your strengths, your relationships, you may find that one of those it's easier to dive into than others. What I found easiest for me, and some of the people I've been working with, is helping them get started doing the headshot. There's fewer moving parts. In other words, I've only got to get a good shot from here up, and being able to focus on helping them be able to grow their business around the headshot side. So what we're really able to do is being able to simplify the work. It's a simpler session. It's easier to deliver the work there. I can shoot more of those per hour. So when I'm doing volume or I'm doing individuals and we're doing multiple poses, it's just an easier way to get involved and work through some of that. So what I can do when we talk about headshots, then it also simplifies some of your loadout or some of your setup here. So Chris should be looking at a slide here. The audience should be looking at a slide that's kind of a typical volume headshot station. So this is when I'm set up at an event. They hired me to come in and shoot headshots for them during the dinner program. So people are coming over being photographed. So everything you're seeing here is 100% portable. It fits in a think tank backpack and a Manfrotto rolling bag. All the grip gear, all the lights, everything folds up, packs up, and in fact, it's selected because it's completely portable, including the table that's underneath my monitor. I have a little different way I'm doing it today, but the idea is all that gear has to be able to pack up. So I'm focusing on one large main light. I'm using a kicker or a hair light, whichever works best for you. I use a portable pop flex background because it folds up easier than taking a whole background stand and backdrops. I like the Westcott eye lighter, the reflector, to bring the light up into the person and be able to get that uplighting. You see them standing on a mat. I've designed these mats so people know where to stand. They get in the proper pose for a volume session. And I guess maybe one of the coolest things that we look at here is that I always shoot tethered, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. But I do all my headshot tethered so the client can see their photos, and I always shoot on a tripod. Because if you look at that, I'm shooting with a 70 to 200. I'm shooting with a Z9 now. That's heavy gear. And if you're shooting for a couple of hours and you're trying to handhold, you're going to get tired. If I just leave it all on a tripod, everything's set, ready to go. I can just reach up and push the button and keep talking to the person. So a common setup that we do for that, portability, selection of gear is going to be key. Even if you're working out of a studio, having a known setup there where you can put things when you get ready to go, so you minimize how long it takes to set it up and pack it up when you're done. So let me see where I wanted to kind of leave that. I'm jumping on a couple of different pieces on that. So I'm going to jump back here. My mouse was in the wrong place on that stuff there. So that kind of covers that.
Yeah. So maybe we can switch topics, Mike. How do you get customers?
So, really, a lot of people talk about doing customers with, how do we set up a great website? And I'm going to be that heretic that stands on the side and go, having a good website is going to be important. It's kind of a Me Too piece, and it certainly helps with being able to capture people and get them for the onesie twosies, being able to get them scheduled. But what I found is important is doing relationship selling. I was fortunate during my IT corporate America time that I spent about 4 years in high-end corporate sales, selling consulting services during Y2K. There was a tough market for selling software testing services during Y2K, which also dates me terribly, I'm afraid. But what I learned was the power of having relationships with your buyers, understanding who your buyer is, and then building a relationship with them that you can bring them value, you can help them do stuff. You don't always have to be doing the hard sell. And with the relationship, they know who to reach out to. So of all my corporate business that I'm doing right now was driven from relationships that I built through cold calls or through people that I was photographing and says, you should talk to my friend over here. And they would introduce me to that person. And maybe I didn't close business on the first introduction, but then I would get a phone call for a headshot and then another headshot. And then, hey, we're doing a team building session. Can you come photograph 10 people for us? Hey, we want to do a headshot day at our corporate office. Can you do 50 people? It builds, and it's building from that relationship that I have just found is so powerful for me that it really comes down to the point that it's so much easier to take business you have with someone you know and expand it in being able to do more business with the same people rather than continually trying to find new people. So being able to do that is a way to really draw that business in. You control the sales cycle a little bit better and go from there. So before I go much further here, I'm going to throw a question out and then I'll loop back around a second there. But I wanted to know how many people are doing headshot work right now as a significant part of their business. If you can post something in the chat window, I don't know if it's down here or over here on this particular piece of software. Yep. If you could post in just if you can.
The chat if you're doing headshots is what we're looking for.
Yep. That's what you're looking for. If you're doing headshots, tell me if you're doing that there, because that's going to help shape kind of the rest of the conversation about whether we're looking for people getting into headshots or whether it's going to be a lot of people that are already doing it and trying to take it to the next level.
Right now, it looks like a lot of people are currently doing headshots. A couple of people aren't yet, but are looking at getting into it or wanting to do it. And Great. Some, it's a majority of their business. So looks like we're kind of all over with a majority of people currently doing some sort of it and wanting to up their game.
So one of the things I'll say then for the people that are getting into it, you've got a great opportunity here because you're going to kind of see how the game's played. So as you're getting started, you may make fewer startup mistakes with some of the things we're going to talk to you about tonight. For those of you that are in it, one thing I always want to remind you about is that when we talk about pricing of headshots, the price of an individual headshot compared to might be like a wedding or a senior portrait session or family session, you're like, why do I want this little bit when I could be making this much more revenue? If you do the math about and include your time that you spend, and assign yourself an arbitrary cost that if I were an employee, I would charge my company some number of dollars. I like not a nice round number, so I charge my company $100 an hour when I'm doing planning. Then you start seeing how much time you're spending doing those senior sessions and the consultations, the shooting, the delivery, the ordering, or the weddings. We all know how much time weddings take. Headshots can be a much more compact window. And with some of the stuff we're going to talk about here in a minute, streamlining and lowering your costs by spending less time preparing and executing that session means more revenue, because you have lower costs, maybe off the same revenue, but you lowered your costs significantly and you're bringing more revenue, which is really what we want in our business, is bringing more home to spend with that stuff. So now I got a better feel for that. Let me touch base on a piece of marketing with customers as you're reaching out to customers. And this also goes to the people that are trying to break into business, and maybe people that have hit kind of a wall with their website. They put up a website and they're like, my website's up. Why am I not booking sessions? And I want to introduce the idea here of marketing from a catfishing standpoint or a bass fishing standpoint. And for those of you out there, I'm talking competitive BASS bass tournament bass fishing type bass fishing. When you think about catfishing, right? The best part about catfishing is not the fishing. You take a long pole, you put some stinky bait on the end, you throw it deep in the water, and you start drinking beer. That's what catfishing is. And you sit there by the bank waiting for your fish to catch, they'll come up and bite the bait. And maybe you get one that night, maybe not. But hey, along the way, you had some beer, you had some fun along the bank. But you're totally at the mercy of the fish coming up and biting your bait. Little you can do about it. For those of you that get up on a Saturday morning and ever watch competitive bass fishing, these are guys that get into $100,000 boats. They go 70 miles an hour down the river. They get to a bass hole where they know the fish are at. They're using all this technology to find the fish. They flail the water and catch 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-pound bass, throw them in the boat, run 70 miles an hour to the next place, and they're actively fishing. They've done their research. They know where the fishing holes are. They got technology to tell them where to go. They're in control of that sales cycle or the fishing cycle. But if you tie this over to over to photography sales, you can see where if you're in control of that process, you're now able to manage that better. You can stay on top of leads and follow up with them more closely rather than waiting for them to call you. So I'm a big fan of the bass style. You need to have a balance, of course. So I've got a website. You can book sessions on my website if you want to. That's fine. But my big dollar items, my big projects, the one I have the most fun with and bring me the most revenue, are the ones that I've gone out and fought for. I've sought out, I've locked in, I've engaged them, I've built them up over time, and then they know how to work with me. And a lot of times I call them up and says, hey, I haven't heard from you for a while. And they'll go, hey, you're right. We've got 10 headshots we need done. When can we schedule that? And they just needed me to reach out and prompt them a little bit, and I'm getting the corporate business. So if you're not able to do, Chris, have you come back to me for a second?
Yep,
if you're not able to do the bass fishing, then the other piece that I have, I do some leave behinds, is I have a guide that I will leave out to people. And I've printed every page of this is a different type of photography. I do a different type of headshot photography, but oh, by the way, I do event photography as well. And I do corporate interior photography and other types of work. So if they don't have anything for me right away, I make sure that decision makers or gatekeepers get copies of these and that they're able to have my contact information and at least some ideas about my capability. I don't expect them to ever call and close business on this. I want them to call me and ask questions. Hey, I see you do this. I've got my fish caught from my $100,000 bass boat, and now I can start reeling them in, and I'm controlling that sales process. The other piece I would do from a sales, so if we are talking about the aspect of doing the website, and what I'll call it more passive or the catfish style marketing, which you still want to have, but a passive selling, is if I go to my next slide here, Chris, to be able to bring up, you should see website on that. What I have here is a very simple process for people to fall through to get a website. They go to my website, they click on it, on headshots, they come up to a page that talks about the different types of headshots that I offer. I do a lot of background extraction. So if you scroll down more on that, you'll see background extraction work. but the classic headshots, and they can click right there on whichever session they want, and it takes them out to my Calendly page that has my current up-to-date calendar. They can schedule the headshot and pay for it right there. You'll find in the corporate headshot world, people don't want a lot of words. People don't read. We know that. We've learned that along the way. So whereas if in retail portraiture for seniors and families or weddings, you need to create that emotional, ethereal, wow, you're going to feel wonderful with this. And you've got lots of beautiful photos and text about how wonderful you're going to feel. Most people that are booking a headshot, you're just one more task on their task list. And they got to, if it's an individual, they check it off the box. I got my headshot, I'm done. If it's a corporate environment, it's a marketing person or it's an administrative assistant, and she's got a to-do list to book 20 headshots, and she just needs to, and she's not getting one, by the way. She needs to check that off the list. How fast can we move her from, I'm the person that can do this, this is what I can do, this is how much I cost, and this is how you book, and done. And they're checking things off the list, and they feel good, and I have got projects scheduling up in my calendar, and I'm ready to go. So it's really having a balance of the both. Find your skill, but if you're relying on the passive stuff exclusively, you're leaving a lot of money and opportunity on the table.
Can you tell me about pricing, Mike?
Pricing.
How much do we charge for this? What makes?
Yeah. Oh gosh, we got charged
money?
for. I told you, I love what I do. Right. I found joy in this. So, one of the things I found is that you want to try to keep your pricing simple. For me, it's a simple package. It's a 1 headshot package. It's a 4 headshot package with 2 different outfits, or it's like a 15 image package, and you can have 4 outfit changes and you can spend an hour and a half doing it. So you want to be really simple on how you price that out. Again, they're not looking for the big ethereal sales job. They want to be able to focus on getting it executed. So you want to be simple. Once you've got them on the phone, you're maybe doing a consultation with them to finalize clothing choices, you can discuss maybe a little bit more with them on what they're looking for and potentially upsell or cross-sell executive portraits or branding images from that. But at the same time, I say, don't get greedy on the first session. Book the session, deliver the headshot, give them a phenomenal experience that they'll love and tell their friends about, and then come back later to them and say, hey, I do some other work, and here's some other pricing that I do. I have a headshot pricing list out here myself. I keep it very simple. This is what I have for myself. Clients never see this one, but it lists not only all the simple pricing elements, but the key points I need to be asking about when we go through this to make sure I'm qualifying the opportunity and what they're looking for in their sessions. One of the tricks I've also found that's worked out really well is setting up kind of a prepaid bundle approach. Remember, corporate people deal off of invoices. You send them an invoice, somebody in accounts payable has to go through the whole process. You wait 30 days and they send you a check. What I found is a number of customers will buy headshots in blocks for me. And I will actually show them a pricing discount. If you want to sign up for 20 headshots, please don't do it for 5 or 10. It's not worth your time. Move them up, lift them up above what they normally do. Get them to 20, 50, 100 headshots in a year and stuff. So I have a client that buys 50 headshots a year. They're good for 12 months. They prepay me. They get a 15% discount if they write me a check for all 50 headshots today. I'd rather have the money now and parse it out over the year than dealing with it coming in a little at a time, dripping as it's coming in. And their accounts payable people love to pay 1 invoice rather than 50 invoices over the course of the year. So coming up with a little prepaid deal, especially if you know what their fiscal year is, and get them at the end of the fiscal year when they got some money to spend. Remember, in budget world, it's zero. Most people, it's zero based. If I don't spend it all, I lose it and I start again next year. So at the end of the fiscal year, and if you don't know your client's fiscal year, you need to find out. You follow up about 60 days ahead of time and go, got money to spend? I can help you do that. And they can prepay for next fiscal year's headshots today, and I get that money now. So money today is always better than money in the future. So that helps having that piece. The other is doing setting some price ranges. So you can have a set amount But if you get a certain gig, maybe you say my prices range from 150 to 225, and it depends on whether they want hair and makeup. It depends on how much flexibility they're looking for in the schedule. You can add a depends a lot in your pricing and have a range. And a lot of times they're just going to be looking for doing some estimates. You write them back a proposal. They know they're going to estimate their budget on the maximum amount, and then you can actually execute and find what you want. And you've got some flexibility on how you bill that on there. The other piece that I've done a lot too that's been successful is day rate. If you've not considered using day rate, think about that stuff. You could be doing headshots for people. I charge a flat fee on location and so much per each additional person, so much for a first person, so much for each additional person. But at a certain point, it makes sense for just pay me a day rate and then bring in who you want. And we don't have to keep track of people. I love shooting headshots. So if you bring a few extra people in and I'm being paid day rate, I don't care. I'm happy with that. My conference and convention volume work also goes off of day rate. So it's flat fee, day rate plus expenses. It's done and easy. They pay one bill and it's taken care of on that. Last thing I'll leave you on the pricing side, be prepared to invoice up front. When you get that project booked, send them a contract, send them an invoice, send them a W-9 because they're going to ask for it at the end of the fifth tax year anyways. Might as well give it to them up front, give it to them all at once, and bill them, get them the invoice going because they'll submit that invoice before the session. And then if they're paying on 30 days, you're going to get it sooner. If they're on 15 days, great. Sometimes they don't pay on terms and they'll just pay right away. So you get that in, don't wait till the session's over, invoice them up front for what you've agreed upon for pricing.
Okay, so
how are we doing time-wise, Chris?
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Can you tell me about the setups, pricing, workflow, like kind of keeping it all straight?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I do on this stuff that's big, you can see I got a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of activity going on. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, when there's a lot of commotion going on, a lot of excitement, I can forget things. If I don't do a certain type of headshot work or certain type of project very frequently, I might forget some gear or some equipment that I'm going to need. I'm going to put that out there for anybody. Anybody show up in an on-location session and forget a critical piece of gear and have had to go back home and delay the session or postpone the session altogether? You can put that if you want to, and you can put that in the chat room and let us know. Think about that. What is it that we could be doing to prevent that? In my corporate days in the past, I had a real strong background in quality assurance and quality control. For us, it was all about define your process, define best practice, execute to that. If you found that it was a better experience for people, a better way you could do things, update your process. And that way your better always gets better every time. Your best always gets better. You continually revolve around that. But you got to write it down. And because we have an old quality adage that says you can't improve something until you've written it down first. And what people are always amazed about is I'm going to give you a quick little insight, Chris, onto what the mind of Mike Price works like. I have an 8-page checklist that I use for every major project I go on. I don't have to follow every single page, but I do check things pretty frequently. And it can be something as simple as reminding me when I'm going to set up and when I'm going to break down on that. What I'm going to have from a copy of the W-9 to remind me to give that to my client if I've not already done so. I also have a little profitability model. How much am I making and how much am I going to spend on this project? So did I price it right? Or where's my price risk points? My list is not important. If you're out there trying to take screen captures or write down what's on my list, stop. What's important is you build your list, what works for you, those points you need to make sure you remember how to do things. I've got contracting, what to do before an event. Here's the big one I do is when I get on location, this is a step-by-step list on the left of every single step from the moment I drop my bag to start unpacking until I'm ready to photograph subjects, including white balance, light position. Everything is measured with a tape measure, so my lights go in the exact same position every time, and I spend very little time metering. I walk up, I hit it, and typically I'm adjusting my lighting about a third of a stop based on circumstances or reflection of the room walls. What the things to remember to do when I shoot, which includes things like drink water, breathe, take a break. What goes in your gear? When you talk about forgetting gear, I have a complete checklist, and this is one I religiously do. I go through what goes in my backpack and what goes in my Manfrotto rolling bag. Every single item. One, I don't overpack. Two, I never forget anything. If I forget something, first thing I do is I write it on this list. If it's a new piece of grip gear, I'll write it on the list if I've forgotten it. And then when I come back, I update the list and put this in my bag, so it always has the current list. People probably have had situations where they have gone and had a computer die, and they've had literally a day or just hours to rebuild a complete computer before a session. I have a checklist on the back of my sheet that's my emergency break glass checklist that we blow down through, and we check to see every single piece of software that has to be loaded on a brand new laptop. If I have to run to Best Buy and buy something, I had a hard drive failure a couple years ago, and I rebuilt an entire Windows laptop in just about 45 minutes by following this checklist. Impressive. It wasn't every single thing I needed for everything I would do, but to work the headshot project that evening, I had at 45 minutes, I had a box up and running. Now that I've got my keys and my license keys stuff stored in places I can get access, but this is my punch list to know that I've got things that I want. So that's really the big piece. So if you haven't done it, I encourage you to do it. Maybe one other question for the folks in the chat room. Does anyone take the time to write down where your light positions are relative to the background? What your standard f-stop and shutter, or your f-stop ISO settings are, what your light power settings are, to save you time every time that you come back, and be able to set that same exact session up.
Yeah. So write in chat if you're actually writing down what your settings. What's your recipe for making your shoot a success and consistent?
Well, and are you doing it? The key thing is the numbers aren't important, because whether you're shooting F11 or F4 or whatever is not important. But if you're writing it down, if you have that, it could be on an index card, or you could have the full big 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper checklist. But if we talk about setting up fast and being able to take things through there and go through quickly, when you set up, reducing the amount of time, that's going to reduce how long you're on site, and going to give you more margin. I can set my entire 3-light headshot studio, background, chroma key, tethering software, laptops, camera, white balance, and ready for my first person. Takes me 28 minutes. I was telling Chris I have a video. Sometime we got a little more time someplace. I'll show it. Time-lapse video, setting everything. All it includes green screen being in a place. But it's because I've got the checklist.
It looks like almost everybody here is writing down something.
Good.
I'm quite
impressed. Think about it.
Doctors
use checklists when they start an operating procedure. Pilots use a pre-flight checklist before they take out. NASA had the mother of all checklists and processes to put people on the moon with Apollo. Hey, we should be able to do that too. We're pretty smart.
Yeah. It's like, breathe. So what sets yourself apart from others? Like, what do you do that's different? What's the mic way?
The big things is, we're gonna hit a couple pieces here. The big piece for me on this is I shoot tethered, and specifically shooting tethered using Pro Select. And yes, there are other tethering tools. You can tether with Lightroom, you can tether with Capture One, great software tools. What Pro Select allows me to do, if we think about making this customer experience, and for those of you that are Pro Select Pro users, you got to have the Pro version of that to be able to get that the watch folder feature. I can have Pro Select up and running, and it's watching the folder as the images are tethered coming in, and being able to then display those on the screen to my customer, similar like it was a projection. Except instead of projecting through a projector on the wall, I'm projecting on a 15.5-inch USB powered monitor that sits on a table or now clamps at the end of my eyelighter. And the person is seeing that pretty view of the images, not the one that has all my controls and buttons and extra stuff on it that Lightroom and Capture One and other things have with that could maybe, if I'm just mirroring my screen. This allows me to put something very nice in front of them. They're numbered 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, whatever I put up, and they can pick their favorites. So what you can see on the screen right there, looking over the eyeliner and looking at me, is what my clients see. They've got the eyeliner, they see me in the background, but right in front of them is that monitor, and the person's able to go through and pick out their favorite images. So a really powerful tool. A lot of people are afraid of getting their headshot back and not having had any say in what it was. And the one thing I never wanted to get anymore was that email that says, I hate my headshot. Why did you send that to me? I would demand a retake session. Now, how much money do we make at a retake? Zero. By using this process, the customer now becomes part of the process. They select their image. If they don't see what they like, we throw those away, we make adjustments, and we keep shooting until they're happy. This has been a great differentiator and why a lot of my customers like coming back to me, because they know they're going to get a headshot that they love.
I got to comment on that, Mike. Like, I learned that technique from you. Holy cow. I didn't realize how much of a game changer it was when you're going to somebody's office to be able to pick on that day and have zero issues with reshoots. It's like, oh, man, I wanted to see you in imaging so I could buy you a beer for just that one. It's like, wow.
Exactly. You know, and so real quick for people, if you don't have ProSelect, please, go to ProStudioSoftware.com. Look up Ron Nichols on Facebook, talk to him about it there. There's a basic version of ProSelect. It doesn't do the watch folder for the tethering piece you're going to need. You're going to need the Pro version, but talk to Ron at Pro Studio Software. He's seen me do this stuff before. He can talk about this and connect you or upgrade you or get you going on that and be able to help you on that. It's been huge for me. I couldn't do what I'm doing without the ProSelect software being able to be that cornerstone of that customer experience. I'll have you come back to me for a second on that from switching. The other piece you want to do is you want to help your client feel good about their session. I always take lint rollers, hairspray. I don't need it myself. I take a small mirror for people. So depending on the travel, if it's local, if in my home studio, I'm able to actually put up a regular mirror. But for travel work there, I've got a small one that I take with me. If you don't have a pack of these, this is the most important thing any headshot photographer should have in their bag, and that is a set of Mary Kay oil blotter sheets. Go to your favorite store that sells the kind of the hair supply, salon supplies, or go to Amazon, buy a couple packs of these. In the summertime in Ohio, when it's humid, when people come running in late and they're nervous and they're sweating, you're going to get the terrible shine and sheen that's going to be hard to retouch. If you just hit them with the little ink blotter sheets and let them blot, not rub, blot, it makes your retouching so much easier and your post-processing is shorter. At $7 a box of these, they're cheap at twice the price for the time it's going to save you afterwards. Last thing I would say on this piece here is really going to be key is going to be removing friction on what you're doing. Just help the client schedule stuff for them. Don't put the pressure on the clients every time. I set up a Calendly appointment system for a client with a special link. So if she's got 25, 30 headshots she needs to do, she sends the link to 25 or 30 people. They schedule with me. She doesn't have to do it. Your gatekeeper, your admin is going to really be appreciative of you removing that friction from her life. And that's really, I could keep on going, but I'm watching our clock and we're going to kind of pinch that off right there.
Yeah. So we've got some people that are wanting to get into this or kind of get started. Like, where do we start with all of this?
So the one thing I'm going to say is go back and work on building that simple price list. Write it out first in the frame or the version that you want, in a format that works. Make sure that it works across the different packages and products, that if they buy one here, that's still a better deal than buying something over here or vice versa, how you want it to be. So having that price list first is a great place to start. Again, keep it simple. The other one that we do is practice. I'm a big fan about setting up stuff. My wife will tell you that she drives her nuts when I get a new piece of gear and I say, could you come stand over here? I need a skin tone. And I will practice. Not only practice the lighting, practice packing it up and setting it up. Practice your pattern, what you say to customers. I'm on autopilot a lot of times when I'm speaking to people about posing or selecting, because that lets me then look at maybe something that's wrong with my gear or something I need to do. But the pattern, the standard phraseology rolls out and buys me time to fix, and they never knows what would happen on that. The big thing I would say, if we go back to the screen here, is reach out to people you're already spending money with to build your business. A lot of people say, well, I put my website out and I'm not getting anything. What do I do? First of all, don't worry about the website. Every one of the people on the picture you're seeing here, the person in the upper left corner was my former financial advisor. He left his practice, started another business, and called me up and said, hey, I need new headshots and new branding photos. Come take my picture. And he hired me again to take pictures in his new job. And I'm working with him in that role. The people on the right are my financial planners and my investment person. The bottom left corner is my accountant. The bottom right corner is my insurance agent. Hey, folks, we're spending money with all these other small businesses. We should go get some of it back. And those people all know when I called them up and said, I want to do your headshots, they know how much money I spend with them. And they took my call and they made appointments with me. And they may have already had headshots, but they knew the importance of helping another small business. And they booked a session with me and they've introduced me to people. So, right off the bat, look at your network, look around town, walk around the people you do business with, that you shop at, that you spend money at. Those are your first targets to go after. They're going to have a hard time saying no to you because they know that you're staying there paying the bill for something you just bought from them. The other thing I would do is just basically say, hey, follow up with the people that you've met. Make sure you're following up on, even if they're not calling you, 2 to 3 times a year, touch base with them. How's it going? How's business? How's the weather? Just engage them in a conversation. Everybody's hiring right now. We know that. So, you should be doing their headshots for other new hires. So it's an option for you to go in and catch people that haven't thought about doing headshot work. You've got a chance to capitalize on that opportunity.
That's so much information that's there.
I know.
Do you have any
I'm looking at stuff here.
Tips for us?
Yeah, let me blow through a couple quick hits on this stuff here. One is you're going to see if you ever did a headshot with me or see my samples, I always do headshots standing up. It goes faster than having to sit people down. Their clothes lay better if they're standing. So really look at trying to do a standing pose. I also shoot all my headshots horizontally. And what you'll look at is there and you'll say, hey, why horizontal? If Chris throws up another screen there for me real quick. Here's why I shoot everything horizontal. Take a look at the color codes on the stuff here. Yellow is the normal composition for either horizontal or vertical, but I can take a horizontal photo, I can get a really good vertical out of it, and I can get a square out of the same horizontal image. Whereas if I'm shooting vertical, I'm limited. I can't give them a horizontal without a lot of painting in and content aware fill, and even the square is a little constrained for me. So shooting on a horizontal format just makes it a lot easier for me. A lot of my clients have switched their headshots to being horizontal, and a few of them crop, but that's fine. I know they can crop from a horizontal on that. When you're shooting headshots, the other quick tip I will give you is always ask the client ahead of time, how are they using the photo? What's their intention? Is that something they want to do for LinkedIn, or is it something they're doing for a dating site? Is it something they're doing as a result of a promotion, which you can talk to them about? Or is it something they're doing that they want to show off some of their work, and maybe we're moving them more to a branding experience and out of headshots? So have that conversation, build that rapport. Last thing I would say is when you are done, always have something like this ready to go. And Chris is going to flip back to me. I made these little cards up that I hand to somebody. Yes, it has my other portrait work and my contact information, but I have a special website link, fairfieldphoto.com/review us. You can go to that link. You can type in, connect with me on LinkedIn and do a LinkedIn recommendation or a Google review. I made it really, they don't have to go find me. Just remember this card. And they'll go out and do a review. That's how I build my business. I don't advertise.
So, holy cow, that was a ton of information. And we do have some questions from the audience. So I am going to read through those. We won't have time to go through all of the questions that are here. So if you pop over the questions tab, there's a little upvote button. So if there's something that you really, really want to know, make sure to upvote it now so that we have time to get to it. So coming from Brian, why headshots and not business portraits? Terminology.
Well, I do all three, but I find that from a volume standpoint, it's easier to engage because the businesses are looking for a headshot to put on a website or avatars for virtual meetings and stuff today. There's a lot more demand for the head and seeing this much of the person rather than the marketing stuff where we see the full executive. I'm probably... For every 10 headshots I do, I might do one branding photo. And for every 50 headshots I do one executive portrait. It's just not a lot of demand right now.
The question may have been why do you call it headshots versus business portraits?
So headshots, common terminology. So I would prefer calling it business portraiture. And for some of the customers, that sounds a little hoity-toity and it's, they don't connect with that. So they're used to looking for a headshot. A lot of my material, we talk about business portraiture, corporate portraiture. For other photographers, professionals, we know what it means. Honestly, our customers want a headshot, and I'm going to give it to them in their terminology.
Cool. We're going to go pretty quickly through these next few. Do you do your own editing or do you outsource it?
I'm actually in between right now. So when I'm in a volume headshot session at a conference or convention, so I'm going to shoot 180 people a day at a conference, something like that. I have an automated process set up using Portrait Professional called right out of ProSelect as an action. And I can do what I call a basic business retouch for an individual and still be able to send that up and have that available for them to download through a tool like Simple Photo Share or email to them after the event. I will do those because the expectation is fairly low. For the people that are the onesie twosies, they want a little more amenity, if you will. If it's pretty straightforward, I will do the retouching myself as part of the delivery process. But I tell you, I've started sending stuff out to some of the other labs, the Rebuku people, the retouch-ups like that. I've been using a lot of work with Rebuku and Ty Fisher there. And I tell you, I send it to him. He does my extractions. He does the retouching better than I really could and sends it back the next day. And I'm having to let go of that stuff and let the other people, let the experts
the money
do
hit
it.
your pockets.
Yeah. I find I can actually go watch TV with my wife instead of retouching. Why am I working so hard at this?
Do you offer quotes?
Excuse me?
Do you offer quotes?
Quote. Oh, absolutely. But I typically will quote in a range. So I don't quote a hard dollar amount until I know more from the person. So if they're just shopping me, I'm going to give them headshots start at X and typically go to here. Volume sessions typically are this, and people most times spend about X number of dollars. If they hang up, they were just shopping me. If they want to qualify that and they keep asking questions, great. I'll clarify that some more and I can refine that quote if they give me more information.
Okay. What do you use for extractions? You hit this up a little bit, but can you expand on that?
So for extractions, I'm a mix right now. If I'm in a hurry and I need to turn things around quickly, I use the Pixnub Easy Green Screen software. I've been using that for probably about 10 years. I know how to light a green screen properly. I set it up right, and they do really good extractions. If I don't want to mess with the time myself, I send them out.
Cool. Do you charge different amounts based on like the size of the files, like 500 pixels, 1500 pixels, 3000 pixels?
You know, I know a lot of people do that. They deliver a social media images and then they want to do full res. Most of my clients don't know the difference. And what I found very early on is I'd send them social media size, maybe size for LinkedIn. And they were then trying to put it in print material and it was all pixel and jaggy and they looked terrible and they blamed me. So my delivery now is 300 pixels on the long edge. They get high res, full res, they pay for it. If they need help resizing, I'll run it through software, an action that I have that'll quickly set it for the LinkedIn, Facebook sizes, and then I deliver it back to them. It's just service. Again, we're trying to provide that service and create a good experience for the customer.
How do you set up hair and makeup?
That's been a great question. As you can see, for me, I don't need much hair work on that. So we talk about pattern. Okay, quick aside. We talk about pattern. And one of the things I will do is I'll be watching a subject and maybe they've got one hair out of the way or a little flyaways that I just want to take my hairspray, spray my hand and brush the hair so I don't have to retouch flyaways. I will tell them that as I'm doing that stuff and I'm adjusting their hair, I says, you realize you're getting hair advice from a bald photographer. They laugh, the ice breaks, they have a good time with it. They now enjoy and they relax with me. And you can actually see the shoulders relax in the pose, that they're more comfortable. I've tried doing stuff with hair and makeup people for the most part with COVID and things the last few years. I've just asked them to come prepared. And if they need access to a mirror, a little time to adjust, they do that. And it's only really some of the women that I worry about hair and makeup. Men, I've never had anybody ask.
Okay. How much time do you spend with each person?
A basic session for me, I can usually knock it out in about 5 minutes for the photography. Again, they're seeing the photo, so immediately I'm getting that interaction with them and I find their photo. We spend more time with the hi, howdy, build relationships, and oh, by the way, thank you, here's what to expect next on the way out the door than we do shooting the session. So when I'm doing volume sessions, maybe on location photo day for a customer, I will block in 10-minute sessions. The client gets the middle 5 minutes and the 2.5 minutes on either side of that is for cleanup, reset, sanitize, what I need to do in COVID days. I can move very quickly.
How many do you require to go back to do a shoot? Like if they're absent or sick or things like that?
Not required. That is a fee if I have to go back out again, but I'll do things like that batch, like the packages. If they buy a 50 image package, they get, I don't remember where I said it for this year. I think it's 2 or 3 free. I waive the travel charges to go on location for 2 or 3 trips over the course of the year. Buy a bigger package, you get more trips. If 1 or 2 people are missing, I'm a home studio east of Columbus, Ohio. I will just arrange for them to come to my home studio, and they will come in and get photographed. And a lot of times, since we're doing green screen, I make their background look exactly like everyone else on photo day.
Okay. On your day rate, how long do you consider to be a day?
A day for me is 10 hours. That includes an hour of setup, an hour of breakdown, hour of contact. And I typically, my style, I work through lunch. Most of the time, I tell them I work through lunch, but most of my clients will take lunch. So I get lunch because they're eating their lunch.
Do you use capture?
I remember half day is not half of full day. Half day costs more than half of a full day. So when you're pricing that out, again, I'm not going to get into pricing. You're going to pick the pricing that fits your market. But whatever you fit for that day, you want your day rate to be about maybe 55-60% of that, because you got the same amount of effort of setup and breakdown and trying to pack that in a shorter period of time. And honestly, you don't get to book much in the other half of the day.
Do you use Capture One for tethering?
I don't. I'm using right now. I'm Nikon shooter. Stop laughing at me. I have a Z9. It's the most wonderful piece of gear, and I put it up against anybody else's gear right now. I'm using Nikon's Camera Control Pro 2. I'm doing some work with Tether Tools on their smart shooter software that I really like. That's going to do some cool stuff with QR code reading in the future, and that will be what I'll standardize on when they get a couple of bugs fixed in that. But I really like that software.
So our last question that we have time for, and by far the most popular question. They've been asked twice, and they're both has the most upvotes on that one. Do you sell, or how can we get access to some of your literature and information and the posing mats and all that stuff?
So a couple things on that. One, I don't sell my checklist because, as I said earlier, my checklist is useless to you, but I'm happy to show you how to build one. Couple things you can look on that. You can connect with me through my website, fairfieldphoto.com, and I think Chris is going to be putting that into the webinar chat window. So grab that. So you can go to fairfieldphoto.com, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, email, phone number, everything's there. Contact me directly through that. If you really want to deep dive into this, and I talk just a little slower over the course of a week, I am teaching at the Great Lakes Institute of Photography, or what we've been known as GLIP. This year, I'm doing a full week on business portraiture, headshots for those of you on the other terminology. And we'll be spending a lot of time on the business side of it. It's not all about pretty lighting patterns. It's about how to walk out of there and actually start booking business Monday after class. So you can go to glip.org and learn more about that. The mats I was talking about are actually mats that I developed. So I'm going to show one up real quick. But these are actually floor mats, the rubber backing. These are called Pro Stance mats, and they're meant to allow people to get in the right headshot position without feeling awkward and not knowing what to do. So I can guide people in the same position every time. Learn more about that, prostancemats.com. I do sell those. That is mine. That's my one pitch I'm going to make for something where Mike makes a little money on that. And then I have a private Facebook group, so we can make fun of customers if we have to. And this is where Chris and I met. Chris is going to post that in the chat room. It is let's see if I even have that link out there. I had that one point.
I put the link to it in the chat, and it's also going to be emailed out
good.
as well. So anybody, if you don't have a pen handy or don't want to copy and paste, you can get the link to everything about Mike that you care to get.
Perfect. So that Facebook group, Professional Photography in the Corporate World, and we focus primarily on headshot work. We talk a little bit about corporate interior photography, commercial photography. We don't do real estate photography, but commercial photography for interiors, headshots, executive portraits. It's a great place to come, ask more questions, be part of the community, and join in from there.
Cool. So I've got some giveaways and prizes and things to do. I know, right? I'm getting a note that prostancemats.com, the link isn't working on there.
Don't. I'm sorry. I don't have just do HTTP, not HTTPS. The certificate's not there.
Oh, okay.
HTTP, no HTTPS.
So just www. Should go there, or Kathy put a link on there as well. So.
Yeah.
Do want to say thank you to American Color Imaging for bringing this on and helping connect us with Mike. Holy cow. They do have a special going on their Serendipity backgrounds. Buy one, get one half off. The code is on the screen, and that offers good through the 16th. So if you're looking for some backgrounds for headshots, they definitely have a large selection there. Get some interesting ones. I know I've printed up a few for my studio, and it's nice just to have some variety, easy to switch out, and they don't wrinkle, which is kind of cool too. So we do have some new shows that are going to be coming up as well. So up first, or next, we've got Level Up with the Munoz brothers. We've got Aaron Hockley.
Yeah, make me the opening act for the Munoz brothers. Thanks. Yep. That didn't put no pressure on me.
So artificial intelligence is what he's going to be looking at, how that can help you. Print competition Pitfalls coming up with PG, and Selling Painted Portraits with Sherry Hammond. All of those are live and open for registration right now.
PG knows his stuff. It's a great program. Yes, make time for PG.
PG is pretty awesome. So up first, we've got a $50 lab credit to ACI, and we had a ton of people that registered today, so it is a little bit of a crazy wheel up this week. But let's see who that winner is. It's going to have to pull it up for me because I can't read it. Antonio, congratulations. Writing that one down before we move on to our next prize, which is going to be a $75 lab credit. So let's go back to the wheel and see. And Alan, if you have Ansel in your email address. I just had Alan when he registered, so that's you that won that one. And now we've got our grand prize for the evening, a $100 lab credit to ACI. And let's see what that one is. And Donna, congratulations.
Hey, Chris, can I throw one in?
What's that, a prize?
You want to give away a stance mat, a 2-in-1 combo?
Let me pull up on that one full screen. We're giving away a stance mat here, huh?
This is the 2-in-1 combo mat. It's got the left foot forward, right foot on one mat. You can also buy them separately, but you pull a name, I'll do a free stance mat. You pick your own color, put your company logo on here. It's completely customized for you.
Holy cow, that's very generous of you. Thank you. Yeah, let's do the wheel of names and see who wins on this one. I should have put my name on this one. No. And it is Lisa. I'll get you Lisa's information.
Yeah, I'll work it out. Yeah, give me contact with Lisa. I'll get with her.
All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I do want to bring up, if you have an idea for something that you would like to see, whether it's a presenter, a topic, anything like that, please reach out to me. My email address is on the screen so that we can connect and I can track down some amazing people like Mike. He just absolutely blew us away. We reached out to him because you guys said we want to know more about headshots. And so we looked up who's the best at doing headshots and coming up with a process, and we have Mike. And if we look at the chat right here, everybody's agreeing with me and saying that they love Mike too. So thank you so very, very much, Mike. That was amazing.
You're very welcome, Chris. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. This is great.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.